advice for screenwriters and comedians.
Let me know when you find out.
Cool. Great advice.
I'm living this bahu life. Except I don't even have a husband. I'm just like doing it for my own father and my own like family. You know what I mean? Literally such little understanding of stand-up or what it was that I thought it was rude. They were interrupting what I was saying. I was like, can you wait for a reaction? One second, let me finish what I was saying. I'll say it's something like that and they laugh. And I'm like, I'm a professional writer who doesn't write. Which is so silly, and most professional writers are like me.
Are you a loser? Are you a freak? Do you need a lover? Don't talk to me. Don't talk to me. Don't bother me.
Welcome to Real Strugglers, where we talk to real filmmakers and actors about their struggles working in the chaotic world of films. Today, our guest is stand-up comedian, writer, performer, actor, vlogger, and anything
Sunshine.
else? And Sunshine, Aayushi Jagad.
Hey, thank you. Fun fact, this is the second time we're meeting in life ever. So any story we talk about where we're behaving like we're just the best of friends, just know that we're faffing.
Yeah, it's all a
For
lie.
you.
How did you get into writing though? Like, were you always creative as a kid?
Yes, I was definitely always creative as a kid. I just had the largest imagination in the world. Which I used for lying to my mother. And she quickly, because obviously all moms are smarter than that. Like, it's not difficult to be smarter than a 6-year-old. You know what I mean? No matter how fucking accomplished I thought I was at 6. My mother is smarter to do the work. But she would keep telling me, she'd be like, if you use this energy to do literally anything else, then spin these lies. Wouldn't life be so much fun? And then at some point, enough, like, she was able to build enough, like, trust with me. Even though I grew up in very, like, traditional Gujarati setup, she was able to build enough trust with me that I was telling her everything. So I almost didn't have a reason to lie anymore. You know, you lie when you want to get something and you're not getting it,
Correct,
right? So
yeah.
she was very like, if you're honest with me and you make your argument, I will give it to you. So it was then it became a challenge. Then it was like, oh, this is what I can say to get what I want. So then it was almost like like bribe system in my house. Good tasks or good habits I was rewarded with like books, magazines and clothes. That was my brief. It was great. You know, then when the lying didn't need to happen anyway, my brain almost got a break from trying to figure out the things we wanted and trying to be in an idle state. Like, oh, this could also happen, that could also happen, that could also happen.
So wait, then when you finished your 12th and stuff, did you pursue journalism at that time or no?
At 13, I decided I would do sketches in class and like illustrations and things like that and get kicked out. But again, like I said, I was a little decent at studying. So I told my parents, as long as I get 75%, leave me alone. And they were like, yeah, cool, whatever. Because I wanted to do costume. I was like obsessed with Neeta Lula and Manish Malhotra. And when I was in 11th, there was a course right across from where we lived, this place called INIFD. I did a course there. So even before I finished 12th, I finished that. So when I was 16, I did that and then I started working. I learned about styling as a job in that course.
So wait, why did you quit styling and costumes and stuff then? And why did you want to write?
Comedy happened. I told you, right? Like, it's such a, I see something shiny and I'm a child, dude. Like, I see something shiny enough and I'm like, maybe I should do this.
So wait, so you just randomly decided I'm going to do comedy?
No, I did not randomly decide I was going to.
Like there was an open mic night, you're out for drinks with your friends and then suddenly you're like, I'm going to go up there after 4 beers and then just give a set and then...
No, it was not like that. I have a friend called Sameet Nathu who used to at the time work at BuzzFeed, India, and they were making a video called Indians Try Stand-Up Comedy for the first time in an effort to kind of show the behind-the-scenes process of what goes behind writing jokes, open mics, etc. They needed a girl and they were 3 boys and they didn't. And a friend of...
Because women aren't funny. I'm just going to poke until you go.
It's not enough energy, time, patience, nothing in the world to be like, oh, good Lord. You know what I mean? But they were making this video. They needed a girl, and the girl who was going to do it couldn't make it. So the shoot got pushed twice, and I ended up doing the video, and I ended up killing.
But was it like a live recording in front of a crowd and then?
Yeah, at Hive back
Okay.
in the day, like where all of the open mics used to happen. So camera was closing the night I performed for the first time, right? Like, so it's
Like
that
Kunal
old.
Kamra.
Yeah, it's just, oh my God, that's so weird to say like his full name, like Kunal Kamra, basically.
So did they teach you how to write a joke, or did they teach you anything, give you a little
No,
boot
they
camp
were
on it?
nothing. They just said, Sumedh just said, just think of what makes you laugh. Go on stage and tell people. There is no one way to write a joke, right? Like that's such a but maybe
Like a setup.
but that's the structure of it. That's not how you write a.
Right, okay.
Do you know what I mean? Like if I tell, for example, what you've just said to me sounds like me saying to you, yeah, but then there is like the OTS shot, and then there is like the two shot, and then there is like the wide. Yeah. But that's not how you tell, like, that's not how you structure a scene, right? Like,
Right.
that's not how you decide. It's not like, oh, I'm going to put the two shot here. Like, you know what I mean? It's structurally first comes story and then comes structure added to it. So jokes, at least in my understanding, whatever little I understand of comedy, it's that way. Is that the heart of the joke comes first and then you have to tell it. The structure helps in communication.
So
More
how
than it
do you
helps
do it
in
in this thing?
I did it in this. That's what I'm saying. I didn't have any prep. I went on stage and I was myself for 4 minutes, and it was awesome. Because comedy is done best when you don't care what the outcome is. Because then you don't care if they laugh or not. You're
Yeah.
very cavalier on stage. It gives you an like this thing of like, I don't give a fuck if you laugh. And I didn't give a fuck because I was like, this is not my world. I'm a stylist. Like, leave me alone. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
very happy in my area or whatever. And then I killed. And Karan, I cannot tell you that feeling of like just people in a room going, yes.
Maybe.
Correct.
But you had a structure of this is what I want to hit on, or you just went and winged the whole thing?
I winged it. I went and I talked about how much I hate watching couples. That was my set. My whole set was yuck. Couples are gross. Like that's basically. I didn't have a script written down. I was late to the venue. Oh my God, I was late today as well. I was late to the venue because I left on a day where our bus got stuck on the ghats for like 2 hours. So instead of a 4-hour journey, I just made a 7-hour journey to get to the venue because I was traveling from Pune. And I was exhausted by the time I reached. So it was very like I reached and in 10 minutes I went on stage. So there was no time to filter. We did my pre-interview after we shot the stand-up portion. You know what I mean? So things like that. I didn't prepare at all. I just knew that I liked talking to people and I was sarcastic. Do you know what I mean? When people are like, oh, you're funny. And I'm like, no, I'm not funny. I'm sarcastic. There's a difference, right? And then I talked to them and everyone was laughing. And I'm like, what do you... And in the set, I remember reacting in real time to what they were doing.
Oh, okay.
Which built up the tension even more. Because then it looks like I'm in complete control in real time with the audience and all of us are present in that moment. So I was very like, what are you doing laughing? Which they laugh more. And I'm like, don't laugh. I'm telling you, this is my actual life. Like, if you say something like that, they laugh more.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, you're embarrassing me in front of the cameras. And then they were like, so I was like, oh, you give. Because to me, I had literally such little understanding of stand-up or what it was that I thought it was rude. They were interrupting what I was saying. I was like, can you wait for your reaction? One second, let me finish what I was saying. I'll say it's something like that and they laugh. And I'm like, is it this easy? Like, am I supposed to? And then I got my answer. Turns out it's not that easy. But this footage, Tanmay happened to see, and then I got a job at AIB. And then that's how comedy happened.
So you decided to just like chuck everything else you were doing. You're like, fuck it.
If Tanmay Bhatt offers you a job, are you not going to think about it? And if your current reality is carrying clothes for snooty Marathi actresses,
Yeah, I take it.
Plus, it wasn't the actresses, the Marathi actresses that I worked with, they're all lovely. It's more that I always thought Pune was too small. Like, it was, because it always felt like I was far away from the action. So I never felt like, no matter what I did in Pune, I would never get close enough to what I actually wanted, which was either to perform or create content, or like be funny or write or make things.
But did you ever go on stage before the stand-up thing? Talking on stage or doing plays and
Elocution,
Debate.
extempore, debate. I
this was
told
your
you,
jam.
I'm telling you, my English teacher has saved my, like, if I had not met Mrs. Kuchatkar, I don't think I would have become a writer. Because it all leads up to that. Because that background of extempo, elocution, debate has led me to do stand-up, which is the only reason where other people get nervous before going on stage. And even I do. But the minute I step and I see I'm in a zone, it's like a high.
Yeah.
And I felt that high since I was 4 years old, doing one Koi dance in our, like, local, whatever, building Diwali situation. I love being on love attention so much. Somebody should have loved me enough. You know what I mean? But otherwise, it's truly what a joy to perform, right? And so that's why now I don't think of any of it as bad. But I used to, I think in my 20s, because I'm 31 as well, like I'm older now. So in my 20s, I was very like, why couldn't you focus on just one thing? Why did you have to go and do 5,000 things and
But don't these
divide your
experiences
attention?
help as a writer?
Now
Yeah.
I realize that.
So when did writing become a shiny thing?
Oh,
Through AIB?
Great question. No, I didn't have the best time at AIB, and we didn't part on the best terms. So it was,
Oh, tell.
I can't. Are you insane? Oh my God.
Did you sign an NDA?
Are you? No, nothing like that. I just have to be like,
need
I'll
work.
have to explain it to comedians when this clip comes out and be like, oh, what did you say? That's all. So, no. It wasn't sinister. It was just not a great fit. You know what I mean? And I was too girly, unicorn sunshine in that time. Like, my biggest thing was Lily Singh is amazing.
Crazy
And if you
pixie dream girl.
But it wasn't, that's what I'm saying, it wasn't the best fit. We were too different. And after that, Queens of Comedy happened, which was like this reality kind of TV show that we did, where there were 8 female comedians, and I came 8th. And then that did help.
But you made it to the 8.
But I made it, that's what I'm saying. I tell myself, I'm like, no, dude, I lost to women who had never done stand-up before. It was very embarrassing. But again, that, like I said, right, like I keep coming back to that whole phenomenon of lazy brain, which is that I see a shiny thing, I'll pursue it, but not enough to actually
Accelerated in a way?
yeah. Do you know what I mean? But I'm more, and I've said this before as well, I've written about this before as well. It's almost like I was more interested in the montage. You know when in films you see a montage and everyone looks like they're working? Like, that's what I thought work was like.
Oh, like a training montage with Rocky music playing in the background.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I was already in the montages. Now that I say that, doesn't my life make a little sense to you where I'm like, oh, she sings as well, she does this as well? It's because I've seen visuals of people doing these things and it looks fun.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, I'll do that. Like, so it's almost like, then when you deconstruct what that all means, I was like, fuck, then what I loved was the montage, right? Then there is something to be said about that. Then there is something to be said about loving storytelling, loving filmmaking, loving screenwriting. That's how, like, I think all of it came together, where it's like now all of these experiences become rich little industries I can go and
Correct. Words that you can use in your stories that you're
I know
creating.
just enough about so many things that it can become a cohesive unit in what I know. But during my 20s, I didn't realize this. During my 20s, all it felt like I was failing at everything, like constantly. And all of my friends were succeeding. Because think about this, the women I started comedy with, like me, Sumaira Sheikh and Uruj Ashfaq did comedy. We started comedy the same week. And then like to see the distance of what they've managed to achieve versus what I did. And I'm not a jealous person. I've never been it's never, I want what you have. It's very like, oh, I'd like that too. Do you know what I mean? So it's never about taking from. It's always about like, no, I know it's there for me as well. So I hope I get it. Like it's more like that. So it wasn't even towards Samara or like Uruj or Pavi or any of these people. It's never. It's because I have so much love for them. I'm very like, oh my God, you guys also, and then me also. You know what I mean? It was that. And because I wasn't getting it, I was very disappointed. Now I don't feel that way because I'm like, okay, I know just enough. I see what a treasure that is. If those things, if a singular focus and dedication is a treasure and it's discipline, then this also, in a different way, has added up to how I can write.
So that's actually interesting because I want to ask you something about how you write now. So when you're writing something, at least this happens to me. Like I get an idea and for the first 5 days, I'm most excited about that idea. And I have my vomit draft ready within 5 days because I've just written it all out. On day 6, I'm bored of it and I want to move on to something else. And I do this so often when you're writing, because I've never written for anyone.
Oh, really?
I've written things for people, but they've never gotten made. And
That's fair. But you got paid for it, so technically it was someone's.
no, I didn't
No.
get paid.
Oh.
I was promised to get paid
Oh, damn.
4 times. Yeah, I was.
Randomness.
Yeah, but is there a way you bring your focus back to what you need to do? Because also writing is also a very fluid thing and a rigid thing at the same time. Because you do want your thoughts to flow, you do want to come up with things that people won't expect, but at the same time you have like time constraints, you have structure, you have.
But I think it's easier to establish rigidity on a flowing script.
Okay.
So I would rather that it flows first. I write crap first and then go back and edit. It's very. I don't enjoy editing too much, but especially for most of the work that I've done, most of the work I've done is not long format, right? Most of my very like bread and butter stuff is branded content for like production companies, like for Instagram, Spotify, Facebook. You know, when they make videos, it's writers like me who sit and write those scripts, right? So especially for that process, because it's such a precise endeavor, I like to free flow first and then just cut, just be as concise and rigid as possible. Because I tend to rave on a little bit. I have the soul of a novel writer, I think, in that like it's very descriptive and flowery.
Right,
and
right.
That's not always helpful in
Screenplay
screenwriting,
because
right?
it increases page count.
Exactly. And your whole objective in screenplay is show, don't tell.
Yeah.
So it's very like, don't tell me what it is. Don't describe it. Show me what's happening. So that was the biggest distance between those two things. And when I learned that, things became easier.
How did you learn that? Did you read books on screenwriting? Or just working with people?
I think working with people. Because actually it was both. Because I met people, I found out about which book to read.
So what books have you read on screenwriting and story?
I actually haven't read a book on screenplay writing. I've read On Writing by Stephen King.
Okay,
Which was a gift from my first ever show that I worked on. Our director, like we managed to make such a nice bond on that show, even though that team couldn't continue to make the show as is. Like it was a very fun experience for the first time, transitioning from working with comedians in writer rooms to writers in writers rooms, because writers are kind people. Do you know what I mean? They're very like sensitive, feely people. Nobody's attacking anyone, and I was like, what is this Candyland? Like, it was awesome. And we formed such a nice bond. He gave us each a book on what he thought would help us most on writing.
So how did you get, so this was your first writing gig, like as a screenwriter?
Yeah.
How did you land it?
They already had the two main screenwriters who were going to write the episodes. They needed a comedian, preferably a female comedian, because they had more female characters in the show. To come and like spruce up the funny stuff. And the thing is, I think I landed that because one of my strengths, few that there are, one of my strengths is sketch writing. Because sketches are like, it's just characterized comedy almost. Like it's, you have a straight character and you have a funky character. It's like one
Playing
person.
to stereotypes in a way.
Yeah. Not stereotypes or archetypes, in more that in the absurdity, where it's like one person is the voice of reason and the almost the presence of the audience in that scenario. And one person is doing, like, is the funny. So imagine if I'm being the funny and I'm just like doing my best life, saying the dumbest things. And your reaction to me is the normal, right? You're like, this is not, Aayushi, you can't take off, this is not how it works. Like, just because you want to eat this wire, that's not how you eat wires. And imagine if that scene escalates. So, like, even in a setup like that, where imagine if I had to write a sketch about this, I would actually say something like, oh my God, let's attempt to eat these wires and I will show you how today. So that's the level of absurdity a person is going to go. One person has to react and be like, are you high? Like, are you okay? Voice of reason versus character.
Okay.
That's like almost like the basis, as I understand it, of sketch writing. And then because we were writing sketch, because we were having so much fun in that process, sketch is longer than jokes but shorter than screenwriting. So I was in the middle.
Okay.
So I was almost like the youngest in the team, like the least experienced, but it was a great opportunity because I was getting full like one course on how to write, on how people are developing characters, storyline, A line, B line, C line, storylines. And I was like, this is great. It's like someone is paying me to sit here and learn.
Yeah.
That's what happened. So that's how, because more than jokes and less than screen, there's sketch. So I think I got it because of sketch.
But how did you hear about the job?
I had worked on a pilot and one Bible like structure because I wasn't the best at writing scenes, but story was stronger for me. I could develop characters and think of a universe faster than I could think of dialogues. And a friend of mine called Kahani was looking for someone for a Bible. I wrote that Bible. I turned it in. That show didn't go anywhere. But then the next thing I did with that company, with the same people, was this.
So how many of you guys actually write their own comedy?
Everyone.
Okay, they don't have writers who work for
We
them.
are very serious about this. Like there'll be drama in the scene if someone steals a joke.
Oh, really?
Like, everyone is so petty. Everyone's like 5.
But isn't it difficult not to steal a joke? Because if you're watching so much of this content, it's you may not even be consciously stealing something. It's just ingrained in you and conditioned into you,
And
right?
that happens. And then you have to clarify with the person. And then things matter, right? Who told the joke first? What is the context? What is the punchline? Then there is like one, oh my God, it's so funny. Because there are groups, right? Stand-up groups with like different producers. And then there's a discussion in this group saying, okay, this person released it first on this date. And then this was the insight and this was the observation. However, in this person's joke, this was the observation. And they like take it apart like one science experiment. It's very funny to watch.
So wait, did you get paid well for this first writing gig that you did? Were you able to like sustain yourself once you like started the AIB thing, or did you still have to like? No, it wasn't.
No. I was the whole time I was doing any writing or any stand-up or any comedy stuff. Social media was always on my life. That's how I made money.
Social media was all in your life, and then you were writing for other
Social
creators.
media content, copy content. I used to run a small company called fangirl.co before I came to Bombay. Because it was through fangirl.co that I used to either produce photo shoots or style or like whatever, or then charge companies like 10,000 rupees a month to plan that month's social media.
Okay.
I started doing that I had 6-7 clients. And when I went to Mumbai and when I had my interview with Tanmay as well, I told them, I was like, I understand I'm moving here for this, but I have to work on that as well. Like I can't
Drop my clients.
because I can't sustain myself on what you're paying me. It's not possible. They were like, okay. And I was like, okay.
So you were basically like you had 2 full-time jobs essentially.
That's why, right? It's hard. Like I couldn't focus on either properly. And so I was like when I say not the best terms, I also fucking sucked only, at my job because my attention is half not there.
Yeah.
Plus you do this in the middle of a move. You add moving to a new city, isolation, adjustment, new job, new people, plus maintaining old clients. Of course, it's going to take a toll on. It's going to take a toll on a 23-year-old. I was 23, dude. Like I was a baby.
Yeah.
So I don't feel bad anymore, and I don't even. It's not a blame game thing. This is just like, hey, unfortunate. It didn't work out for us. Would have loved to because huge fan. That's why I dropped everything and went to Bombay. Otherwise, why would someone drop everything and shift their entire life, right? If they didn't really like the people.
Yeah.
Like, that's what gets missed in this whole thing sometimes. Of like, where they're like, oh, Aayushi, like, you got fired from me. And being like, oh, like, what happened? And I was like, yeah, but it didn't start out like that. You know what I mean? I was a fucking huge fan and they were also lovely only. So it's not like a scandalous thing. It's an unfortunate thing.
And then how did CPL work out for you?
CPL happened in the pandemic. Oh man, the pandemic, Karan, the pandemic it destroyed my soul a little bit. I'm a very social butterfly extrovert sort of person and you put me
Locked in a room.
and because like I said, my mom passed away very early when I was younger. And so in the pandemic, I was living with my dad and my brother in Pune and they can't cook or clean. So it was actually they clean. They helped me with cleaning. But it's just this thing of like, I'm living this bahu life. Except I don't even have a husband. I'm just like doing it for my own father and my own like family, you know what I mean? So I was not in the best place
So
in the
bahu
pandemic.
training.
I hate it. But I was not in the best place. And then I was working on, again, some brand films. And I got a call from OML saying, Rytasha, we've gotten on board for CPL and Rytasha needs a writer. Not because there are 14 comedians on the show and 2 comedic, what do you call them? Comedic artists, maybe that's fair. Because they want stand-up comedians, right?
Yeah.
Like Rytasha and Malika. So they both had writers and then everyone else wrote their own stuff. And I thought it was like, Rytasha must have recommended this and because we'd met a couple of times before. Turns out, no, it was just, she was given like a list of people and she was like, I'll take that one. And I was like, okay. And so then I went. So for me, it wasn't that they let me come back. I think it was, in my head, I was just like, Rytasha picked me. And that's, I'll take it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That show is why I have my car house. I'm very grateful. Because people, when they find out that I worked on that show, they're like, usually the show is so bad. And I'm like, yeah, but my house is so nice. You know what I mean? It's a very, I'm like, I don't care.
Yeah.
Keep it. You know what I mean? Yeah, sure. How many things do you watch that you absolutely love?
I don't even remember half the things I watch because they're so mediocre.
But that's what I'm trying to say. Nobody does, right?
Yeah.
But of course I'm going to be excited for getting paid
Yeah, of course.
for this Netflix
Dude, it's a
level
career.
show.
It's a
Right.
job. It's a livelihood. It's
Exactly.
not everything is has to be like.
But it's also because comedy is a privileged pursuit, right? Like you need to have the time and the resources to be able to do comedy. And the people who can't do comedy full time because they have full time jobs, like you can see how much it's taking a toll on them, right? Where it's like you don't have enough time to get to the open mic, you don't have enough cash to pay for recordings and then get them edited and then put them on YouTube or etc. etc. So it is and of course I'm not saying that it can't be done. I'm just saying that it's a slightly a pursuit of the privileged. It's not something that people can do easily because it doesn't pay as fast. Writing pays better. Do you know what I mean? Even if you're a new writer, you can charge less and still get paid work. Stand-up's not like that. Stand-up, you have to be established at least, like you have a tight 30 minutes, clean material to get corporate shows and establish yourself as a comedian.
What's a normal pay for like someone who's done like 5 open mics and now is getting their first paid gig? How much would they get paid?
That's so cute that you think someone who has done 5 open mics.
That won't happen.
That would happen in 1 week. You would do 5 open mics in 1 week. Would
Really?
you pay someone if they worked for 1 week on their craft?
No.
Oh my God, it takes at least 2 to 3 years before you see your first check. My God, really you did not know because so many people don't know then. Stand up for the first 2-3 years, you don't get paid. In fact, now because there is so much saturation and a lack of availability of like audience for open mics or like for venues and things like that, you have to pay to get a spot. You pay $250 or like $500 or $300 or whatever this thing is, so that, and you know why they did it is because for the artists to take themselves seriously. to be like, this is time I was given and I cannot lose it.
Yeah.
We have like +1 bringer shows where you don't have to pay that fee if you bring a friend, if you bring audience, basically. That's how, like, that's where open mics are. Open mics is the nitty gritty of, like, it's humiliating because you are the performing to a small group of people, and it's not humiliating because the situation is humiliating. There's nothing humiliating about trying an open mic. It's humiliating if you don't take that time seriously, right? For yourself. And I didn't for the longest time because I was a girl. I got spots slightly easier than the boys, and I took that time for granted because
it was less competitive.
Yeah,
More female
it was
comedians.
2016. We were all having fun. When I went back to Pune, there were 2 total comedians, 2 total female comedians, like, in general in Pune. So then we didn't have, so we got spots, right? But I wasted where she didn't, where Agrima didn't waste her time. I did, where it was very like, I just had fun. Because I was very like, oh my God, let's go on stage, let's talk to the audience and have fun. For the first, I think, 2 years, I didn't have a proper set written.
Oh, wow.
Because I
Okay.
was just going and laughing on stage. Because it was so much fun. And then I was like, no, I need to prep for this. I need to, like, prepare it and do it properly. And then that's when I started writing.
Okay, so I mean, the steps, I guess, for a person who wants to write comedy or do comedy is just go to open mic nights and take it seriously.
Open mics, take it seriously, then write it again. Then when you've done that, then do that 400 more times. That is it.
What about like YouTube, like just recording yourself, like?
That's hilarious. First of
Do
all,
people do
again,
that?
it's so funny that you think that's possible.
I
First of
have
all,
no idea
like,
what.
first of all, just to be like, what about मैंने record करके डाल दिया तो चाहिए तो? It's not a viral video, lovely. It's like art and skill and work. Do you know what I mean? You know what you've just said? This is what it sounds like. You're talking, say for example, you're talking to a filmmaker and the person in front of you or at the film, and you've just told a filmmaker, like, yeah, but you now make reels in my room. And the filmmaker's
No,
looking
but
at you
it's like saying, I've made a short film, put it up on YouTube. It's kind of like
that's
that.
different because that's finished product. This is, you don't get the opportunity to record in a venue. Like, where will you get the audience? Then you'll have to put in laughs. If you have to put in laughs, what stand-up is it? Then it's not stand-up. Then it's
a
an
sketch.
edit. Yeah, then it's a sketch edit. It's not stand-up. Stand-up has to be done in front of an audience. And in what universe are you going to comfortably find 1,000 people to fill an auditorium or even like 100 people to fill a small room and then make them laugh on the spot by having nothing done? It's hard as shit. Like, you know what I mean? It's so much stress. So even to get to a level where you're in a place where you can record, then it's expensive also.
Yeah.
Because you have 3 cameras set up, everyone is mic'd.
So is writer's block real?
Yes and no. Writer's corner is more real than writer's block, but because I understand the narrative around writer's block, right? It's a laziness or like lack of repetition, and I to a large extent I really agree. But I also recognize that there are days and moments in the process of writing where you just like can't. And I don't think it's because you're blocked. I think it's more that there are other things that are larger than the story in priority to you. Do you know what I mean? And there's nothing wrong with that. We're allowed to be people. Do you know what I mean? Like we're allowed to person as we go through this process of work.
No, for example, like when you were doing these writer rooms and you go into the office to sit and write and you're left with a blank page and you can't figure out what to do, but you have these hours allocated to be here.
But see, that's what I'm trying to say, right? It never got to that point, but because we had so much else to figure out in terms of work to be done, we did write ourselves into corners.
Okay.
Writing yourself into a corner is one of the worst. Like, it's such a, because you're so ambitious in giving personalities and traits to your characters, and then in that passion and that ambition, you write yourself into one corner where you can't solve it. Like, it doesn't have a solve and then it becomes a question of kill your darling, right? Which darling do you want to kill? Which choice is better for the story, etc., etc. So in trying to solve those, because writer's block, personally, I'm just lazy in life otherwise. So I don't write more often than I write.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean? Like I feel like I'm a writer. I'm a professional writer who doesn't write, which is so silly. And most professional writers are like me, where we'll write for the job and we'll write what's expected of us, but there's no real creativity then happening in your personal time, which is like exercise. You know what I mean? Like it's a workout you have to do every single day. So I think both. It is and it isn't true. Do you know what I mean? If it's really about push comes to shove, then get your ass in the chair, finish the draft and send it. But then I'm also very like, I don't take responsibility for that draft because it's like, it's going to be so shit. If I know I'm not going to be able to write today, I'm not going to be able to write today. And because I still have that, I consider myself like a fairly inferior writer because I'm like, I'm still dependent on the narrative of, if I know I'm not going to write it today, I'm not going to write it.
Okay.
Like that. So it's a little embarrassing, but I also see how it could happen. My larger problem, more than writer's block, is writing yourself into a situation you can't write yourself out of.
How do you end up doing that when you have a structure to what you're supposed to put down?
Because, like I said, because you're ambitious on where you want your characters to be. Like, for example, you write this like amazing scene where they all go on a trip together, for example, okay? And you know how trip episodes are so fun, right? Because it gives you a chance to put all your characters in the same location so you can have multiple groups of interactions or whatever. And then be like, oh my God, they can talk about this, they can talk about this, they can talk about that. And then you suddenly remember, yeah, but this previous character, this main character that you have otherwise given a fantastic A storyline to, in the universe cannot come to the trip because he has hurt himself or he has shit like that. Do you know what I mean? Where it's like, oh, he falls down and he gets like a little fracture on his arm. But then in the next episode, you also want him to go water skiing or whatever the fuck. Things like that. I just mean like it's, these are obviously very shallow examples of how you write yourself in a corner. But sometimes traits will overlap. Sometimes habits will overlap. Sometimes they won't have anything to talk about. Sometimes they won't have a conflict. Sometimes it's between two characters who have nothing to do with each other. So you're like, why am I wasting time putting these two people in the same place when the story could be served so much better with other people? So that's what I mean, is that writing yourself in a corner for me is a worse experience than writer's block, because at least with block, I know I'm responsible. With this, if there is no solution, you're fairly like fucked.
Yeah, then you have to go back to the start.
That's hard.
So also when you're writing something now, do you write it from a story perspective or do you do it from a character arc perspective? Like, do you take your protagonist and then take him on his journey and then try and weave it around a story, or do you do it the other way and weave a character into a story?
I really try to do story first.
Okay.
But unfortunately, I'm a character first sort of person because I'm very like, if I don't know who they are, how will I know what they want?
Yeah.
And if I don't know what they want, how will I know what they try? And if I don't know what they try, then how will story happen? It's a little like that for me, where I'm very like, tell me what this person is interested in. Tell me what their feelings are. Tell me what their goals are. And then don't give it to them. You know what I mean? It's essentially like this evil master plan of... So I think, yeah, character first. Definitely.
Has there ever been a point where you wanted to quit writing?
Do you mean like
Quit.
this morning or like
in life.
yesterday or
Today
like
also,
or like
in life.
Tuesday, you mean? Or like,
Have you ever had that thing that I
What
want
do
to
you
quit this shit?
dude, what are you talking about?
What
I
makes you want to
texted
quit?
Karan at 6:30 in the morning saying, hey, I've had an all-nighter because we've asked for changes on one of the projects I'm working on. I'm sorry. I might be late. Please wake me up. This is literally a conversation from this morning. So it's so yes, I wanted to quit then, and I wanted to quit when I woke up, and I was sorry when I was like, oh, Karan is waiting. Of course I want to quit, but what are you going to do? This is, where else? In what other industry do you get to have the shamelessness to say, hey, this is 60 seconds of content, now give me 75,000 rupees? Where that doesn't exist. And I like being shameless. This is writing and filmmaking is almost ethical shamelessness. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if you look at it from the perspective of other people.
Normal people.
No, from actual hardworking people who, you know, have like real life problems and like who have to work because they need money, not because they felt like being creative. Do you know what I mean? It's a very like I sometimes it's such a dangerous territory to make this all sound like really cool and make it sound like this artistic journey or whatever. But what it is I'm privileged. I have, I work enough to kind of support myself and do my thing. And this is only because somebody else paid the bills for me for a long time. You know what I mean? Like, it's only possible because of that. It's not otherwise. Otherwise, it's a luxury. So I'm glad I have it. But yeah, it's I want to quit every now and then just to be like, let's become hardworking, honest people.
But what makes you want to
these.
quit though? Is it the hours? Is it
It's hard, no? It's so subjective. There's no correct answer.
like today morning? What made you want to?
There's no right answer.
There's no right answer.
I can't get points or marks on it.
So how do you decide to not quit?
I like money. It's and genuinely, I like money enough and I like this enough. So to get money from something you like is such a joy.
Luxury.
It is a luxury. You know what I mean? It's one of those things where, hey man, you lucked out. You know what I mean? And I did. Where, like, as much as I think I'm shit and I'm never going to be anything in life and etc. etc. As much as that self-doubt and hatred and all of that is there, you feel that insecurity sometimes.
You face imposter syndrome? Like every
Hello,
day?
Aibish.
Oh.
What do you think went wrong there? That's what happened. It was just like, I don't deserve this. I'm shit. And when they agreed, I was like, rude. So yeah, that's imposter is a lot. But I've had a project last month where for the first time I've not felt replaceable on a project. And I'm 31. I started writing at 23. Not even 23. I started writing at 20. 11 years after I started writing, for the first time on a project, I've thought, only I can do this. So clearly it takes time. Clearly it's a hard, imposter syndrome is something that was so real to a lot of writers.
Yeah.
Where like, I don't deserve any of this. I'm shit. But I think I do now.
Okay, that's
I think
good.
I do.
That's growth.
It's really been a joy to forgive myself for not succeeding. Because I punished myself a lot for not succeeding like my friends had.
Punish yourself how? Like mentally?
Mentally only. No, how else will you punish yourself?
I don't know.
You punish yourself by thinking awful things about yourself. And by feeding into that narrative, right? Of like, of course I'm shit. Why would I be anything else? Yes.
I think that too. I think that I'm shit, but I also think that a lot of people are more shit than me are.
Yeah, that's what keeps you going,
and
right?
I feel
that's
happy
what keeps
about
you
it.
going.
And then you watch some movies in the theater, you're like, he's so bad. She sucks at writing. And then you're like,
I can do this.
yeah. It's doable.
As many as there are people who are better than you, there are people who are worse than you.
There are more that are worse than you.
Right.
There are fewer that are better than you and more that are worse than you.
But that's what I'm saying. Even if it's equal, even I'm the 50% mark, right? Even I'm happy to take that like 100 percentile, whatever, and I'll stand at stuck 50 and be like, आधे लोग मुझसे better है, आधे लोग मुझसे खराब है. Even if I do that, do you know what I mean? It's still a matter of perspective. And realizing that was mind-blowing. Where I'm like, if I just turn around, then instead of seeing the people who are worse than me, I'm going to see the people who are better than me. And instead of seeing the people who are better than me, I'm going to see because depending on what kind of situation you're in, you need a different reminder.
Right.
Right? Yeah. Where if sometimes you need
to feel grateful or you need to like force yourself to do work.
Exactly. Yeah. Because sometimes you can feel a little too fill in myself happens when the check clears and your deadline is like, I'll do it tomorrow. Like when all of this shit happens, you have to humble yourself by turning around and be like, I should be fucking grateful I have this opportunity. And then there are some times where you're like, I can never do this. I'm never going to be anything, like blah, blah, blah. Where you look to the other side and go like, no, listen, it's better than this. And like you get to exist. You know what I mean? So.
Okay, last thing, advice for screenwriters and comedians.
Let me know when you find out.
Cool. Great advice.
It's genuinely. Please tell me what you find out and.
No, but what's worked for you to get better at what you do?
I hope you also Like, if you're already, then congratulations. But I hope you also become a person before you become a writer.
What does that mean?
A person is able to get back up when they fail, forgive themselves if they make a mistake, be excited to learn something new, apologize if they did something wrong. I'm saying so many people struggle at these steps. Do you know what I mean? And these relationships are so important in order for you to maintain that, even as a professional standard, even as your relationships, even as your professional relationships, and as a person. And because I used to dislike myself so much as a person, I never thought I only deserve to do better. Does that make sense? Like, I was like, मैं क्यों ही करूं? मतलब, I will stay shit no matter how much I learn. So I had to learn how to be a person first. But I'm like, okay, if I made a mistake, then I can try it again, and then I can achieve this by skill and not just the function of being talented. Do you know what I mean? Because talent's about 10% and everything else is just persistence. Everything else is just practice, and everything else is like incessant trying. So I really hope you get to be, and so many people already are. When I met those other writers, they already were. They had never had this like doubtful process of like, because in my life, it's very before mom, after mom, before comedy, after comedy. Like, there are almost sections of my life I can map that way, where it's not the case for them. So I hope you get to be a person before you get to be your profession. And I hope you have fun, man. Like, it's really fucking fun to feel happy while doing the thing you love.
Yeah.
So whatever that may be.
Yeah, we're done with the episode. And now like, share, subscribe.
Ladies and gentlemen, what an afternoon we've had today. I mean, I got humped by a dog. We didn't know whose pee it was on the sofa, Karan's or Cooper's. It was like a whole saga situation. I'm very happy that I got invited. I genuinely do love talking about myself. I do that as well. I genuinely enjoy talking about myself. So I would like to thank Karan so much for inviting me. Please don't forget to watch the real versions of this podcast on our Instagrams, on Karan's Instagram and on mine, Slutty Savitri. Thank you so much for spending your time with us this afternoon. And Karan, will see you next time, because I won't be here. I mean, I understand you will survive, but Karan will be here with another guest, and then you can like, share and subscribe now to enjoy them as well. See you later.